Wow, but in October of sports with the NHL now underway and the NBA tipping off next Tuesday, we want to help you celebrate the opening week, both on the ice and the hardwood. Every NHL daily package is only $9 through Monday, October 18th. And yes, that includes 5% NHL plays, regularly priced at $35. For you NBA fans, we'll be offering the same incredible deal next week when basketball returns. From opening night through Monday, October 25th, get every NBA package for only $9, including all 5% top plays. Plus, don't forget that WagerTalk TV will again be airing both Puck Time and the NBA Tip-Off Show every Monday through Friday.
All right, guys, welcome in and happy Thursday to you as we get ready for a weekend filled with a whole lot of college football, some interesting matchups for sure here in week number 7. We got 4 games we're going to break down for you here on the show, and we're going to do it with, quite honestly, 3 of the absolute finest college football handicappers at WagerTalk.com. Ralph Michaels back in the seat again, top with 10. Even with the pen he brought here today. Teddy covers right in the middle there, and of course hitting cleanup, Mr. Dave Cokin. Ralph, how you been, brother? What's going on? Nice to have you back here. What's new and exciting? What do you got going on at Wager Talk?
Very exciting weekend, guys. College football 5% play Saturday, NFL 5% play Sunday. In 3 years, it's only the 3rd time that I've had 5% on both Saturday and Sunday. And 27 days, maybe to 26 days, the college basketball starts. I'm working on the Wager Talk College Basketball Guide. Lastly, make sure you guys check out the college football logs and the NFL logs. I improved them even more this week. We added a stat compare with yards per game diff, points per game diff, yards per play diff, and strength of schedules, both available free on my homepage, wagertalk.buzz/RM.
All right, let's do it. Welcome back, Ralph and Teddy, my friend. What is going on here? A lot. I mentioned college basketball. I almost broke out in hives. It's unbelievable this time of year. Welcome back to reality. It's crazy. Teddy, how you been, man? What do you got locked and loaded for us at Wager Talk and SportsMemo.com?
Yeah, things start to get real weird next week, for me at least, when NBA starts. Because then you still have baseball. You got college football, NFL. You got NBA starting, and then college hoops, as Ralph talking about, just over the horizon. So October, November, these are the busy months, and we're ready for them. In terms of my card for this week, I was trying to get everything posted, or trying to get my NFL posted before we came on air. I didn't get done. I'm just finishing the write-ups right now, but we'll post that when we're through with the show. It'll be up later this afternoon, and the full college football report for the weekend, as always, posted by Friday morning over at Wager Talk and SportsMemo.com.
All right, good stuff there. And Dave Cokin, the man, if you guys are just joining us, Dave had his very first 5% play in the NFL last weekend. That cashed, and I do believe, in fact, he has yet another one ready to rock and roll this weekend. 28-9 over the last 2 years, guys, on his 5% plays. They don't come around often, so when they do, I certainly hope you are paying attention. Dave, what's going on, man? Exciting. NHL, and MLB. We almost have a World Series on hand, and of course, college and NFL, man. What else is going on?
Well, you started the show by saying we've got 3 of the best college football handicappers around on the show, and I thought, what the hell am I doing here? Because I haven't been one of the 3 best college football handicappers this season, I can tell you that. I've not had a good season in college. The NFL, on the flip side, has been really good. Hit a 5% last weekend on the Titans, playing against Urban Meyer, basically, and it worked out pretty well because that was a fairly easy winner. 5% plays in the NFL are 2-0 this season. I had the Browns the very first week, plus the points against the Chiefs, so 2-0 in those, and I had 2 last year. All of last season in the NFL, I had 2. Those were both winners, so 4-0 run on those over the last 2 years, and you mentioned the 28-9. All sports 5% plays going back to October of 2019, so that's a pretty good run. And I was debating whether this would be a 4% or a 5% play But I'm going to push it to a 5% play in the NFL on Sunday. I think the special circumstances involved warrant it. So I haven't posted it yet. I'll be posting it as soon as the show's over. So you can look for that. And I think it's going to get there. Obviously, I wouldn't be putting it up as a 5% play if I didn't. So looking forward to that. And let's talk about some games because I've got some opinions on these games for what they're worth.
Love it. Yes, week 7. Here we go. We're going to start, I guess, in the Big Ten here. Robert, hit it. Let's go, Nebraska taking on Minnesota, the Golden Gophers here. Minnesota opens up as a 2.5-point dog. The total is 47. The money has come in, certainly not on Minnesota at this point. Nebraska 3.5, 4 right now in the marketplace. And what a unbelievable season it's been so far for the Cornhuskers, trying to avoid going 0-4 on the road, Ralph, this season here. Not exactly an easy place to go, but I'll remind you, Bowling Green won here. So what do you think Nebraska's chances are of winning in Minnesota?
Well, you look at Nebraska and, what pops out is, a lot of close losses again. Illinois by 8, Oklahoma by 7, Michigan State by 3, and Michigan by 3. But we're going to go from a team that's playing the best they've played under Frost to probably a team that's not going to have Frost as a coach. They haven't been to a bowl yet. They're going to have to get to 6 wins. They have Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Iowa to finish the season. So Minnesota, Purdue, a must win, and they got to pull the upset. I understand why they're a road favorite. If you look at the statistical profiles, as I talked about, I added to the front of the WagerTalk logs. Minnesota comes in playing the number 74th schedule, a very weak schedule in the Big Ten, and they're only plus 26 yards per game. The Cornhuskers have played a schedule ranked number 33, 41 spots better, and they're plus 150 yards per game, over 125 yards per game more. But, a couple negatives I have to bring up. People are going to talk about the schedule. Nebraska playing an 8th straight game. Minnesota playing only their 6th game of the season and off a bye. If you guys watched Wager Talk today this morning, we talked about college football teams off a bye. Home favorites off a bye have only hit 46% since 2017, but home dogs off a bye have actually gone 71-58 against the spread, hitting 55%. But I can't back Nebraska despite the profile, just because simply they're this. They're 3-14 on the Big Ten road. You already mentioned today, neutral games against Illinois, a loss, at Oklahoma, a loss, at Michigan State, a loss. So I can't back them. But I can't get to the Nebraska side. PJ Fleck, now 5-16 on one-score games since taking over here. It's not a coach I can trust in this position. I actually lean the under. I tweeted out plays per game and plays per minute. Minnesota is number 128 out of the 130 teams, averaging how many plays they run per minute of time of possession. They're number 113 in plays per game. They rush the ball an average of over 43 times a game. I am going to lean with the under in this game, total, which is now about 48.
All right, leaning towards the under there. Teddy, 2 teams right now that could really use a W here. 2 teams that a little head scratching there. We talked about Nebraska's not having a whole lot of luck, especially on the road. But what do you think of this Minnesota team here at home getting points?
So, Minnesota got the win at Purdue prior to the bye. They went on the road to Colorado, shut out the Buffs, which is not that big a deal, but dominated that game pretty much start to finish. Where the Gophers have had their fair share of struggles this year, games where Tanner Morgan has to throw the football around. Tanner Morgan is not the type of QB that is going to be carrying teams to victory on his back very often. And they look flat twice. Both games at home against MAC opponents was not Minnesota's best effort. All that being said, you look at the history between Fleck and Frost, and it's Fleck. You look at the last 2 times that Minnesota has hosted Nebraska, blowout wins both times. in those games. And we look at this Cornhuskers team that, again, I get it, and they played Oklahoma, they played Michigan State, they played Michigan, but they haven't won those games. Coming up just short has been, and Ralph brought up a great point with flex struggles in the single digits. That being said, Nebraska's hanging around in these games and losing by single digits. I don't trust Nebraska to cover a number on the highway, and the statistical profile that the Cornhuskers have, which has them outgaining their opponents and looking really good on paper, ensures that there's going to be plenty of Nebraska money, like there was again last week against Michigan. Money that ended up driving the line down 2.5, which ended up being a little bit too short. Field goal game here. And at 3.5, 4, I could only look at the dog.
All right, very good there. And Gabe, what do you think? It's been a tough go for Minnesota, certainly in a running back position. They lost Ibrahim, they lost Potts. It's going to be basically whoever is healthy enough by committee there to run the ball. But what do you think of Tanner Morgan? He's had success against Nebraska in the past.
He's not very good. He's just not. Nebraska's better than Minnesota. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Nebraska is better than Minnesota. They've got more talent. I think they're fairly close defensively, but Nebraska clearly has the better offense. But college football is college sports are way more scheduling dynamic friendly than other sports. The pros, I don't care whether it's hockey, basketball, football, they're traveling. It's just not that difficult for them, and they're used to it. It's their job. In college, scheduling dynamics really play into the mix, and especially as you get later in the season. And here, the scheduling dynamics clearly point to Minnesota. I mean, it's not even close. Look, they weren't very good in the Purdue game, but they happened to win it. Purdue kind of gave it to them. But they've had 2 weeks off since then, and they're going to be feeling good about themselves. They've got rest, and they're off a win. It's a rather obvious thing, but it's better to be rested off a win than rested off a loss. Those 2 weeks of practice are enjoyable. You feel good about yourself. Nebraska hasn't had any rest. They're coming off another gut-wrenching loss. Look, they really should have beaten Michigan last week. But as has been the case basically since Scott Frost arrived in Lincoln, they lose close games. They basically lose them all. They just don't win close games. So you got two things that can happen here. If Nebraska's on their game, they might dominate Minnesota. It's possible. And if this is not a close game, then Nebraska probably wins. But those scheduling dynamics say it's going to be a close game, and I just wonder about the Nebraska mindset at this point. What are they playing for? Okay, the players of the team know that Scott Frost is probably a lame duck. Okay, I'm not guaranteed that he's out of there, but it's a pretty good bet that he's. If you were to set a line on whether Scott Frost is going to be back as coach at Minnesota or gone would be the favorite. Okay, it doesn't mean it's a lock, but it's the favorite. So I question the Nebraska mindset at this point. The best they're going to do is some who cares bowl. I think they're ripe to get beaten here by a team that they're better than. Won't be the first time that's happened. I'll take Minnesota plus the points.
All right, taking Minnesota plus the points there, guys. We got another game here. We're going to head out to the Mountain West, Robert. What do we got? This should be fun. Boise State, give me that blue turf, taking on Air Force, the Falcons here. Boise State opens up 6-point favorite, 50.5 as a total here. And Teddy, I'll come back to you. Boise State off a big win there against the BYU. Air Force got by, I think, Wyoming, if I'm not mistaken. So what do you think? Air Force pretty good on the road this year. What do you think we're going to see?
Lafayette, Navy, Utah State, Florida Atlantic, New Mexico, Wyoming. That's not a who's who of good teams in college football.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a who's who of mediocre teams in college football. Okay. So Air Force has been feasting on the weak. And, I mean, the only time they faced a team that can throw the football around at all was the Utah State game. I watched it, and that secondary had no chance against Utah State's receivers downfield. I think Hank Bachmeier might have some success here of throwing the football. We look at the recent series history, and again, with all these conference matchups, we want to know what's been going on. And what's been going on is Boise beats Air Force by double digits every year. Every year. And this year, Air Force got a good record, and Boise's look vulnerable. So the markets are tapping the brakes on that. Oh, this is Air Force's year. I'm not buying it, especially given that series. Again, it's 4 straight double-digit wins for Boise. And I know this year's Broncos team in the series. I know this year's Broncos team isn't as good. And I know the games that they're winning in large part due to turnover margin. The +4 against BYU last week, the +5 against UTEP in week 2. I get it. And Air Force, not a team that's likely to lose the turnover battle, certainly not by margin. They've only turned the ball over in 2 of their 6 games this season, but this is also a real defense they're facing. That may be a problem. Boise or pass for this better, and I think I'll probably stand alone on this opinion. My hunch is there's going to be a fair bit of Air Force support in the betting. We've already seen the Air Force support in the betting markets. That's why this line is as low as it is, 3.5 as we speak.
All right, good stuff there. What do you think, Dave? Boise State at home, or do you look the other way?
I bet this game early. I took a good number with Air Force, anticipating the number would go down. Posted it as a free play, and posted it early enough so that everybody who visits my page at WagerTalk got the game, or should have gotten the game, at the good number. So I don't care what happens at +4. But I like Air Force in the game, and the reason I like it is twofold. Number one, this Boise team is struggling against the run. It's not a real good rushing defense. What is it? 180 yards per game? And they can't run the ball. They just throw it. So you're looking at a game where you could be looking at 40 minutes to 20 minutes, something in that range, as far as time possession is concerned. Air Force, you know what they're going to do? They're going to run. And they're going to run against a team that is soft against the run this year. So that's a point for Air Force. Boise is going to throw the ball on Air Force because Air Force probably can't defend the pass. But I just am not a fan of that style of football. I never have been. I like ball control teams. And I'll repeat what I've been saying all season at this point. Fortunately, I wasn't involved in betting Boise BYU. But was Boise good last week? I watched the game. It was more a case of BYU giving the game away than anything else. I mean, BYU was up early in the game and then never scored another point. Maybe Boise takes something positive out of that, but I still think this team is now more reputation than reality. I have Air Force graded just as good as Boise this season. Boise's no longer the class of the Mountain West. In fact, they're not the best team in the Mountain West. Nevada's better than they are. I think Air Force has got a real good chance to win the game. I'm happy with the I don't have it in front of me. I think I got 6. I'm happy with that. I can't really recommend it at the current line because, it's just gambling 101. Don't take 2 points the worst of it intentionally. But I did bet Air Force early, and hopefully those who followed me on the free play also did so, and we'll just sit back and see what happens.
So what did you see, Ralph, from this Boise team last week? Not good against the run, but if you don't look at the numbers, you would think that they did a really good job against BYU. We know what Air Force is going to do here. How much confidence do you have in Boise State being able to stop them?
Well, watching the game, what I took away from it was this. If a team is +4 in turnovers or a team is -4 in turnovers in a game, you basically have to throw out the box score, because if you're +4 turnovers, you win 95% of the game. So, you don't know how they performed. It was gifted to them. They only had to gain 312 yards. They only gained 3.1 yards per carry rushing. And you weren't under pressure because you were playing from the lead. What I'm looking at is I lean under in the first half. Now, Air Force's numbers, leading the country in rushing 341 yards per carry. But let's remember this. They've played their non-conference schedule where foes weren't prepared for the option. Boise State preps for the option every year. Boise State's defenders are familiar with the chop blocks. Although Air Force gained 400 yards rushing last year, again, we're throwing out the COVID season. because you didn't have the August practices, and so it was such a unique part. I think Boise will have to throw. Air Force's defense, allowing only 50.2%, one of the best pass defenses as far as numbers go. But as Teddy pointed out, you've played the number 114 schedule out of 130 FBS teams. There's not much to compare it to, except that Utah State game. And oh yeah, by the way, they were at home against Utah State, the one passing team they played, and they allowed 628 yards. Now that says, why am I going under first half? Well, I think Boise State's going to try to run the ball. They tried to run the ball last week. They ran 45 times, only passed 29. They tried to run the ball against Nevada, ran the ball 34 times. They got behind, had a pass. So if Boise has the lead, they will try to run the ball. So I'm comfortable playing under for the first half. But if Boise gets behind, I want no part of Brockmeyer throwing the ball around. A Boise team that got sacked 6 times against Nevada and 4 times against Oklahoma State, against an Air Force team that had 5 sacks against Navy, 4 against New Mexico, and 3 against Wyoming. So the D has impressed me enough. Under first half for me in this matchup.
All right, under first half there. That's great. Air Force taking on Boise State. We're going to keep it out west, guys. We'll go to Salt Lake City, I believe. Arizona State, Herm Edwards and company coming to Salt Lake, taking on Utah. It opened up pretty much a pick-em, -1, as you can see there, Arizona State. Total of 51 here, and it's just crazy circumstances with this Utah team, who Monday, unfortunately, had to travel to Texas to attend a funeral of their safety, which was shot just about a month or so ago there. I mean, this program has dealt with nothing but tragedy here over the last 10 months. It's absolutely brutal, but they're playing some good football right now, and they find themselves, Dave, only a half a game behind Arizona State. This is huge on many levels here. So what do you think we're going to see from this Utah team taking on Arizona State?
I haven't got the slightest idea. I don't know, because Utah to this point has been pretty much impossible to handicap. And they didn't play well early, gave away against the BYU game. They should have won that game. They gave it away. Very unimpressive in the Washington State game and managed to win it, but they weren't very good. And then they go out and play their best game of the year. So maybe, I don't know, is that a buy sign on Utah? I don't know. I mean, the last couple of years, it's not just this season. For some reason, and I don't know what it is, and I suspect the coaching staff doesn't know what it is, because if they knew what it was, they could fix it. This Utah squad is becoming extremely erratic. And they're just one of those teams that I'm at the point now where it's just basically, okay, I see they're playing somebody, I'll skip that game and move to the next one. Arizona State's playing really good ball. They look like the best team in the Pac-12 right now. I think they actually look better than Oregon. But in the Pac-12, everything's so closely bunched that even the worst team, well, we'll toss Arizona out of the mix because they're really bad, and Colorado is too. But the rest of the Pac-12 can pretty much battle each other on a weekly basis, and you don't know what's going to happen. And that's where I am in this game. So I don't even want to give a lean in this because I have no idea. I'll leave it to Teddy and Ralph.
It's tough, Ralph, to figure out what are we going to get from this Utah team. Unfortunately, there's been more tragedy around this program than anything else. But I can say this, they're playing some defense at Arizona State here. So they're a very well-balanced team, can run the ball down your throat if they want. Jaden Daniels, pretty good at the QB spot. So who do you lean towards here?
Well, let's bring up the obvious again. I mean, let's look at the strength of schedule and the statistical profile. Arizona State's played the number 87 schedule. So the 143 yards per game that they're on the plus side is something that you expect. Utah's played the number 31 schedule. So we have the number 87 schedule against the number 31 schedule. Utah plus 50 yards per game. Plus, Utah has had to go at BYU, at San Diego State, and at USC. Arizona State went to BYU and then UCLA, their other road game. The loss at BYU when Arizona State went there, it was a game they actually had a 426 to 361 yard edge, but they were minus 2 turnovers in that loss. Both teams want to run the ball. Utah averaging 5.4 yards per carry, Arizona State averaging 5.5 yards per carry. On defense, both teams excellent stopping the run. 3.5 yards per carry for Utah, 3.3 yards per carry for Arizona State. So what does it come down to? Well, it comes down to quarterback play, and mistakes. Jaden Daniels, 4 interceptions. We're not sure what we're going to get out of the new Cameron Rising, who, started up after Charlie Brewer got benched, played, well in the USC team, but they scored fast, and Utah's defense actually fell apart late as well, giving up over 450 yards. I break down the game and I say this, coaching to me, I give a slight edge to Whittingham, although I'm very impressed with what Herm Edwards has done. But I'm going to look at the situation, and we often talk about teams after a bye. But here we have Arizona State playing their toughest road game of the year, playing their 7th straight game against a Utah team which did have a bye prior to USC, and now playing only the 2nd game of that break at home. Because of that situation, slight lean. I'm not very far off from where Dave said. I went back and forth, over-unders, trying to come up with some sort of opinion and a lean, and I'm going to put my check mark next to the Utah Jazz. Utah Utes, I should say.
Well, you should like the Jazz also. Yeah, you should also like the Jazz, by the way, taking on the Knicks here, but that's a different story there. Teddy,
hey, listen, if the Utah Jazz were playing, I might go with them because they'd have a clear size advantage.
Yeah, well, it would definitely be an under for me then. Teddy, what do you do here with this? Because usually we like to see teams that, can score, they go up tempo. There's not a lot of pace here, but there's going to be a lot of defense. So do you look maybe the total in this one as opposed to the side? How you leaning?
I'm leaning towards the Utah Jazz. What are they, minus 11.5, minus 12?
You're damn straight.
Look, this is an impossible game from a side standpoint. I'm with Dave 1,000%. All right. You grade out the personnel and you look at the way Arizona State's been playing. It's really hard to step in front of Arizona State here. I think they grade out a little bit higher than Utah, and they played good football, really good football over the last 3 weeks. But a big part of why they look so good the last 3 weeks, in the 3 games combined, only 2 turnovers. And if there's one thing Whittingham's team is going to do, and if you remember, Arizona State's lost this year at BYU. What was the problem? They turned the ball over. They made mistakes. And that is certainly a potential here for Arizona State. And with Utah, I'm with Dave as the team that, we've seen good Utah, we've seen bad Utah. I don't know what Utah we see here. And even from a series history standpoint, last 5 meetings between these 2 teams, all decided by double digits. No home field advantage, no road advantage. It's just a fair bit of randomness when Utah and Arizona State face off against one another. Now, both these 2 teams are predicated on their defensive abilities. So your first lean has to be to the under in this game. And yet, when Arizona State starts clicking offensively, they're playing with tempo, playing with pace, putting the biscuit in the basket, scoring touchdowns. And at times this year, I've seen Utah's defense not live up to the expectations that we might have. So you put it all together, it's a big fat pass. I have no idea what to do with this one. Fun game to talk about, fun game to watch, but not one that I'm excited about betting.
I was going to say, I think it's going to be a great game to watch, guys, out there. A little Pac-12 at night should be a good time. Arizona State taking on Utah. We got one more game out in the Big 12 we're going to talk about here. And talk about confusing. TCU taking on OU in this one. Opens up Oklahoma 12. We've seen TCU as a 65.5, somewhere a 64.5, somewhere in that ballpark as an opening. And Ralph, I'm going to come back to you because we don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect from this Oklahoma team. I do know, and I'm sure you can speak to it, that after big rivalry games that you make monster comebacks from, right, the next game, what does history tell us about OU in this spot?
Well, I mean, let's just look at OU this year. I mean, this defense was supposed to be so improved. That's all we heard off season, how this is an elite defense. And I bought into that too. But, you know, you have a team averaging 41 points per game, and all 5 games against FBS foes have been decided by single digits. 5-point win against Tulane, 7 points against Nebraska, 3 against West Virginia, 3 against Kansas State, and the Texas game last week. You know, the thing we have to mention is this. If you do like Oklahoma, bet it now, because TCU's injury report, Max Duggan, the quarterback, questionable, didn't practice. Zach Evans, number 1 running back, questionable, didn't play last week. Number 1 receiver, Quentin Johnson, did play last week, questionable this week. So, I mean, you can't bet TCU until you see the injury report, until you know at least 2 of those 3 guys are playing and they've practiced in my book. So if you do like the OU side, bet it right now, because I think there's only one way they're going to go. If a couple of those players get announced out, I think this goes to over 14. You know, technicals certainly lean with TCU. Patterson and TCU, 7-1 as an away dog of 10 or more. Oklahoma, 1-5 as a home favorite of 10 or more. But, you know, again, to me, I am going to wait. If I have all those players playing for TCU, 65 is a high number for a division game in this matchup, but I'll do it. I have an Oklahoma team that's averaging 5.3 yards per carry, almost 200 yards. Even with Spencer Rattler's play and with Williams stepping in, the team is averaging 71% completions. So it's not as if though Spencer Rattler was 0 for 20. And a TCU defense, this rush defense, Texas Tech, we know, likes to run the ball out of the spread, but they got 5.8 yards per carry. Texas, 5.1 yards per carry. SMU, 6.7 yards per carry, with a TCU defense allowing 200 yards plus per game and 5.2 yards per carry on the season against this Oklahoma rush attack. Only one way I can play it, and that is over the total.
Looking over the total, expecting points here. And Teddy, I don't know. TCU is just as confusing to me this year as OU has been. So do you lean the total instead? How do you approach this?
Well, I mean, when we're talking about Oklahoma off air, I'm like, I don't remember seeing a team like change their power rating in game by 4 touchdowns like the Sooners did last week. We're literally, if Rattler stays in the game, Oklahoma loses that game by who knows how many. And all of a sudden, Rattler gets benched. And next thing you know, this Sooners defense that spent all year getting lit up. Look what they did in the second half of that game as they were mounting the comeback. 3 and out, field goal, 3 and out, 3 and out. Stopped on downs. That's the defense that's living up to expectations against Texas. Even though, the highlight of the comeback were some of the incredible catches and an offense catching fire. But that comeback doesn't happen if the Sooners defense isn't blowing up the line of scrimmage on play after play. And it did. So now Williams is with the starters this week. I think that's a benefit to Oklahoma's chemistry. They've had little trouble with TCU in years past. 3 of the last 4 meetings been comfortable Sooner victories. Only once has TCU given them a game. And of course, we saw TCU last week light up a Texas Tech defense that was also supposed to be better this year and has not lived up to expectations, certainly not in recent weeks. The Sooners are one of those. Look, I had Texas last week. And when you have a game like that you think is a W and then isn't a W, and sometimes it clouds your thinking about their opponent the following week. So really, Oklahoma is not a team I'm going to play this time around. But given the injury report that Ralph was talking about, given the fact that maybe they just took a big power ratings jump and the markets won't notice it yet, it'd be Sooners or pass if I had to get involved.
Sooners or pass in this one. Dave, we've talked about this TCU program and Coach Gary Patterson, where maybe the game is beginning to pass them by. This isn't the TCU of old. And then we watch them out and look like the old TCU against Texas Tech last week. So it's like you throw the hands in the air and you go, where is TCU, do you think, at this point versus this OU team in Norman?
Well, look, TCU did played reasonably well last week. They got out in front early, and it was pretty much game over at that point. But they're stepping way up in class here. I don't think they have the personnel to stay with Oklahoma, especially if they're beat up. And the thing about Oklahoma now is that, look, they are a better team, clearly, with Williams at quarterback rather than Rattler. I don't know what happened to Spencer Rattler. I mean, he was the preseason favorite to win the Heisman. You can basically have whatever odds. If you want to bet on him now to win the Heisman, just go to your favorite sports book and ask them how much they'll give you, and they'll probably. I think I've seen like I don't know 150 to 1 or something like that. But they'll probably give you whatever you want just to take the $10 out of your pocket because he's not going to win the Heisman. In fact, he's probably not. I think he's going to stay at Oklahoma for the rest of the season, and then we'll enter the transfer portal. I don't think he'll enter the NFL draft because his stock has dropped a lot, and he'd be costing himself a fortune if he entered the NFL draft this year. But the bottom line is Oklahoma's a better team with Williams at quarterback. And coming out of the way they came back last week, they got all kinds of momentum here. I don't. The power rating has the number about right, but the way I look at it, I think you've got a case here where Oklahoma, if they get a chance to destroy TCU, I think they're going to do it. And that would be the only side I could look at.
Yeah, it's Sooners have won 7 straight in this series. TCU last one back in 2014. So we'll see if they can turn back the clock this weekend. OU taking on TCU. All right, guys, there you go. 4 games we broke down for you. Now we'll go around the horn here. Ralph, I'll come back to you. Of these 4 games, is there one maybe you're leaning towards a little bit more than the others?
Well, a very weak card for me to pick out of the 4, but I'm going to go with over in the Oklahoma TCU game with an asterisk pending Duggan and at least Evans or Johnson play. So, with those top 3 guys out, it's a game I wouldn't play now. I want to make sure they practice tomorrow and have the game plan in place. If at least 2 of them play, Duggan and at least one more of them, then I would lean with the over.
Yeah, Evans will be big for them there. Guys, don't forget to head over to WagerTalk.com. Make sure you check out Ralph, ready to rock and roll at WagerTalk.com, or college basketball just around the corner. But college football, NFL, Ralph is locked and loaded, ready to go. So is Teddy Covers, of course. And Teddy, we got 4 games on here, maybe a coin flip or 2, but which one of these might you be leaning towards a little bit more than the others?
I'm not interested at all in laying a price with Nebraska on the road at the Target Field in Minnesota. It'd be Gophers for me. That stands out. And again, it's not even like you have to win the game. Looking at the current Wager Talk live odds screen, the 3.5s are getting bought up. It's 4 now at most books. I'll take +4 with Minnesota in a game that I expect to be close. And in terms of the weekend card, that'll all be posted, as always, by Friday morning. 58% in college football year to date, 60% dating back to last November. We'll see if you can deliver the goods for my clients and I again this weekend.
Yep, make sure you check them out, guys. WagerTalk.com or SportsMemo.com. Head over to Teddy's page. Dave Cokin got a 5% NFL best bet coming off of the one he just won last week. Got another one this week for you guys on Sunday, 28-9 rather over the last 2 years on 5% plays, guys. So head over to WagerTalk.com, take advantage of it. And Dave, tell us, which one of these 4 do you lean towards a little bit more than any others?
Just got a text from a friend who's coming to Las Vegas, and they're flying on a certain airlines that's had some issues lately, and texted me that the flight's been pushed back 4 times now. So he doesn't know when he's going to get here. Oh, well. I haven't posted my 5% play yet, but I'll have it up about 10 minutes after this show's concluded because I've actually already written it up. All I have to do is post it there. And I promise I won't back that up 4 different times. It'll be up in like 10 minutes. So I'm better than XYZ Airlines as far as meeting time requirements is concerned. I'm with Teddy. I like Minnesota. Talent favors Nebraska. No argument on that. Okay, Nebraska's got more talent than Minnesota. If Nebraska plays its best game, they're going to win. They might even win by a margin. But the scheduling dynamics are heavy on the Minnesota side, with Nebraska coming off a demoralizing, again, close loss to Michigan. Minnesota having an extra week to prep, coming off a win. To me, scheduling dynamics trumps talent here. Minnesota plus the 4. And I'm going to bet this game.
All right, there you go. A couple of Minnesota leans there, guys. There you go. TCU, Oklahoma over 64 for Ralph, Teddy, and Dave leaning Minnesota, taking the points, guys, plus 4 right now. But in addition, guys, make sure you head over to WagerTalk.com. Visit Ralph Michaels, visit Dave Cokin, visit Teddy Covers, guys. Make sure you also check out the live odds page at WagerTalk.com. It's fantastic resource for you guys, giving you an up-to-date look on what's going on in the sporting world from an odds perspective across many of the very well-known sports books. So check that out too at WagerTalk.com. All right, hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner. Make sure that you come back and join us again for the Friday edition of College Football Daily as we get you ready for Week 7 of college football action. On behalf of Ralph Michaels, Teddy Covers, and Dave Cokin, guys, we appreciate the time. Best of luck with your plays tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Thousands of you enjoyed the NHL opening week $9 special, so it's only fair that we offer the NBA fans the same deal. Every NBA daily package for the opening week through Monday, October 25th is just $9. That's right, you will not be paying $25 for a package, nor will you be paying $35 for 5% best bets for the opening week of the NBA, as all daily basketball packages are only $9. Make sure to tune in every Monday through Friday for the NBA tip-off show on WagerTalk TV, and then save and start the NBA season with a slam dunk deal.